Joining me right now is America First Action PAC Chair and former administrator for U.S. Small Business, Linda McMahon. Linda, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. Good morning, Maria.
Congrats on the new role. Tell me what the priorities are and how are you going to execute?
Well, the priorities clearly of a super PAC are to raise money for the re-election of the president, and the administration has acknowledged that this super PAC, America First, is the official super PAC for the re-election of the president. Our goal is to raise about $300 million. There's a very crowded Democratic field. We need to be in the field doing our polling, doing voter registration, doing our data mining. And so those are the things we're going to be focusing on over the next 2 or 3 months. And then the balance of the money, of course, gets spent as we get closer to the election on ads and more messaging, and so we're going to be busy over the next year and a half.
How do you do it? Where are you looking? Is it corporate America? How do you raise that kind of size?
We do go to corporate America. We also do go to wealthy donors who really do want to see this president get reelected. So we are mining that field all over the country, and there are many, many donors who are willing to put money forward to reelect the president. They like where this economy is. They like capitalism over socialism. They like the effects that tax cuts and regulatory rollbacks have had on the economy. They continue to see the growth, and they want to make sure that we re-elect Donald Trump, President of the United States.
Linda, it's Kevin Kelly here. Are you concerned, or is the PAC concerned at all about what happened during the midterm elections? I mean, it was pretty startling to see actually the big inroads that were made, especially in conservative territories. I can think of Orange County, California, which lost a lot of its House of Representatives. In the state of Arizona, the senators, it's one of them's now a Democrat representing the state. So is there actually concern about what happened in the midterms and whether you can actually meet those goals on fundraising?
Well, certainly we want to make sure that that we are covering all the bases. I think what we're looking at our super PAC is focusing on 6 states, because we know that if we don't get Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, and Ohio, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, President likely is not to win re-election. So we're focusing really on electing President Trump, the governor of each of those states, and really putting our power behind messaging, voter registration, and turning out the vote in those states. And I think if we focus in those areas and get those required electoral votes, President Trump will clearly win re-election.
Linda, Mitch Rochelle, one of the things that the Democrat candidates are doing, many of them, is very bottom-up, sort of grassroots effort, raising money, small increments. Is that a strategy that's part of your super PAC's approach to raising money as well?
We do have that in place. We do reach out digitally to small donors to get those incremental dollars in, but our focus really is on the larger donors and the larger amounts. So I'm be traveling all over the country, talking to many people about making those donations to re-elect the president, and we are having great success because I think the donors really are looking at this election as being so critical.
Linda, let me take you back to your sports days, because we've been talking about the NFL all morning here, and the NFL has agreed to study the use of marijuana as a pain reliever for players, as you know. Jack Brewer says a lot when he's on this program. That would be a lot better than using opioids for the players. What's your take on using marijuana as a pain reliever for the players?
You know, I have seen with personal experience members of my family close to me and other friends who have used medical marijuana for pain relief, cancer victims, those who've had surgery that other medications couldn't help. And so I've seen that medical marijuana has been a great relief to those particular patients. So I think that the president's right in supporting the state's rights and his support for medical marijuana.
Yeah, I guess it would be better than an opioid, right, which is highly addictive.
Well, clearly the overuse of opioids is not a good thing, and I don't think the president gets enough credit for the crackdown placed on trying to reduce the use and prescriptions of opioids.
Yeah.
It really has been an epidemic, and he's had some good policies in place to reduce those.
Linda, you brought up the great point real quick. Just you said you support the president on the state rights when it comes to marijuana, but this the situation we're having is that they're having a hard time doing banking given the fact that federally it's still illegal. So would you want to see the president in this next election cycle maybe pivot and start to support a federal support, especially for banking for medical marijuana?
Well, I'm not going to get ahead of the president on his policies, clearly, but I think he's looking at it the way he should at first, and that is through the states. And many, many states. Now, I think there are over 30 states that have approved the use of medical marijuana.
Yes, that's right.
And I think that's a good way to go. And the states, I think, are clearly doing the right thing and putting forth the use of medical marijuana. As I say, I've seen it. I've seen the effectiveness of it personally.
Linda, real quick before you go, as you get set to start raising money and continuing this money raise for the president's reelection, what do you make of Joe Biden and how successful he's been able to raise so much money, running away with it on the Dem side?
Well, I think former vice president has great name recognition.
Okay.
But I think when actually the field is narrowed down and we actually have an opponent, to go after, we'll see how all of those failed policies will hold up. I mean, it's very simple to me. You look at under Vice President Biden, we had jobs lost. Under President Trump, we've had jobs gained. We've had the economy grow. I think the president clearly has such a strong economic record to run on, and he'll put forth those points himself, and I think he's going to be the clear winner.
Yeah, and there's also the China issue as well, which they're very different on also. Linda, good to see you again. We will be watching.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for being here. Linda McMahon joining us there. President Trump just tweeted about the